Hey, what's up? So in this video we're going to learn the basics of Blender 2D animation, which is also referred as grease pencil animation. So do not get confused when someone says it's grease pencil animation, not Blender 2D animation. Okay, so this is not the default layout. This isn't the default layout. So I've modified it quite a bit, like not that much, but enough to it doesn't look that different, but it works very differently. So let me just switch to a default layout first. So we have to go to file, defaults, and load character settings, and this is the default thing. I know the white background looks nice, and I personally prefer a gray background because the color looks accurate on that, but that's your personal choice. I don't mind that. Okay, so so these are the tools: draw tool, fill tool, eraser tool, and that tool. But this is the standard thing. These are the layers and these are the colors. That's not the color. So these are also the layers. So and this is the outliner. These are the objects. So each grease pencil is an object, and each object in Blender has their own mode and they do different stuff, and we'll get to that later in the video. But let's first of all get the main thing out of the way, the colors. So now you can see this is a green color, right? So if I try to let's put the strength to 1. So this is the strength and this is the radius. You can also change the strength by pressing shift F and dragging the mouse forward and backward, and you can change the radius by pressing F and dragging the mouse forward and backward. So that's how it works. Let's put it to default. I think it was 50. Okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, you're seeing this green color, right? So if I try to draw something, it's black. This is because this isn't using this is the color attribute, and right now it is using a material color. So this is a materials panel, and each tool is attributed with a different material. So for our pencil, this is using a solid black, a solid stroke material, and if we want to change the color of it, we can change it from here. So as you can see, but the problem is, let's say I want to draw a different stroke color, and if I try to change it from this, it will change the colors of the previous strokes. So this is quite obvious at this point that we have to create a new material, which is useful in some cases. For example, if you have a character and you probably will change its color to a different thing at some point in the video or in the animation. So instead of going back and changing every color one by one, you can use material instead and change this just this once, and it'll change like the whole thing in this document. So this is useful for that, but for using for example, you have like 3 characters in the thing, in a single grease pencil object. This is the object, right? And then you have to make like 30 new materials for that, and it gets really hard to manage all those. So instead of using just the material colors, let me just put it back, we can use color attributes. So if I switch to that, you can also switch like color attributes and materials from here. Now if I draw, it will draw this green color, and I can also switch this and switch that. So that's the nice thing about this. Let's delete that. So if you are using if you used not Tahoma, Toon Harmony or Adobe Animate, materials are like tagged swatches for Adobe Animate, and color attribute is just a regular thing, like regular swatches for that. And these are the color palettes preset, and you can also create, once you're in color attribute mode, you can choose these colors freely and draw from them. But if you're in that, these are disabled. So that's the thing. And you can also create your own color attributes if you delete this by pressing cross and create a new one. Let's name this character, and now if you choose a color and press plus, it will add to in the palette. Let's choose a different color and press plus. So that's how that works. And if you want to switch the palettes, you can click on this drop down and switch this palette, or you can just type in char1. Yeah, it's not working. Oh yeah, so you rename that. Yeah, right, char, and rename that to palette. I forgot about that. Palette, yeah. So this was the most important thing. And now other confusing thing that most of the user face when they're just starting out with this is that this materials row. For example, let's say I have this drawing and I want, and this is also a big thing. So you're seeing that this gray color is coming over it, and while this is the opacity and it should just blend with this color, but it's coming over that. So this is a performance measure. You can change this by going to materials and you select this material that you're using and you click on self overlap. So this just fixes that like this, so it won't do that anymore. Now I personally don't like this opacity thing. You can disable that, and or you can have this right there and you can choose a different preset for brush pens. I like to use this one and I keep this default. So okay, so as I was saying, let's say we have this drawing and we choose a fill color, we choose a color from here, pink, and we fill it in, nothing happens. This is because we're still using a solid stroke color and we want to switch this to solid fill. So use that. Now if we switch back to pen and we try to draw something, it is using this, so we have to switch back to things. So that's the problem, but the solution to this is very easy. You can just pin each material to each tool, and this also works with different presets. So you can pin this to this as well, and let's pin fill area color with the solid thing. Yeah, and now let's try to do that again. Now we have this. I don't like this. Yeah, we have this. Let's change the color a bit. We have this, and if you go to this and draw that, and now it works fine, and we can switch back to freely these tools. Okay, now we have another problem. Yeah, so this filler color is drawing over the lines and we want to behind it, and you can also use these layers. Like for example, if I try to draw a line, and you can also draw on a different layer like that. But if you want to draw this on the same layer, you can also do that. Let's switch to lines, and you can press on this button. This is draw behind mode, and now if you draw something, you go behind it like that, just like Adobe Animate. Yeah, I keep comparing Blender to Adobe Animate because like I've used Adobe Animate for 5 years, I think. Like I've been animating for a long time now, and that's why. But rendering in Adobe Animate was getting very hard. Like you'd have to like render everything 3 times. Once you go from Flash to QuickTime, then QuickTime to MP4, and that was just very tedious. Okay, now these are the important things that are out of way. So let's add like by default we have two layers. We can have them as 3 layers, so we can add a rough layer. I just have 3 layers by default, where I have rough layer, fill layer, and line layer. So I can just quickly jump into a Blender. I can just quickly open the file and draw a rough sketch of things. I can switch to this and clean up things by pressing this button. Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job of cleaning these things up. Yeah, but that's just for the sake of demonstration. I think this is worse than the thing. But I normally don't do that much construction thing. I just personally I'll draw a basic shape, then I'll just switch to this mode, and then I'll draw details on top of it. So he's kinda angry. And you can hold shift to enable active smoothing, and you can draw like this. And I don't use that much, but that's why. But I just wanted to mention it. Yeah, so that's how you do it. Yeah, and beware if you and if you want to erase this, you can press eraser and just erase that. Now eraser have 3 modes. One is dissolve, so it just blends softly between erased and drawn, and we have point and it is each point hard thing, and we have stroke, so it is whole stroke. So yeah, now we have tint. You can change the color of a stroke afterwards after you've drawn it. It's not very obvious. Let me just switch to a vibrant color. Yeah, so yeah, just like that. And you have two modes of it, like three modes of it. We have either only stroke, so it will only affect us, affect the stroke. We have just a fill, but we don't have a fill right now, so it isn't affecting anything. We have stroke and fill, so it affects both of the things. Yeah, so these are the basics. Okay, now that before we jump into animating something, we want to save all the changes that we made to this. You can zoom out from this, or you can press middle mouse button and drag in and out. And for the tablet settings, I think I have to gather some information about it. I did tablet settings a long time ago, and I don't want to look through each setting and try to find things. We'll discuss in next part, but it's not very important, right? Okay, now that we have made all the changes, let's just fix a bunch of it. We want to make this black. We want to have this turned to 100%, and we want our default layer to be this, object to be this, and let's rename this to scene 1, or we can do just to object 1, or if you don't want it, let's keep this that way. It doesn't matter that much. See, so we want to be in draw mode, which is by default. And okay, these are the geometry shapes. I forgot to mention these, and these are a bit. This is interpolation tool, and this is a bit advanced, and we'll probably discuss in the next part. And we don't want this behind by default. And this is a multi-frame. This is also advanced. We'll discuss it later. And everything that I'm missing, that you're seeing things in here and I'm missing, we'll probably discuss in the next part. And if you have particular questions about these, you can leave a comment down below. And now we want to save this, and like if we start a new file, we want these settings to be there once we create a new file. So to do that, we can go to files, default, and save starter file. So I already have mine, I don't want this, but if you just click on this, it will save, and whenever you create a new file, you'll have your default file thing. I think our files are very similar. And just to bring this up, you can press N and choose tools from this. So I like to keep all my tools in here and colors in there, and I like to have the layer settings in there, or I like to have modifiers and effects, which we're just going to discuss in there. Okay, now let's animate something. So the dots that you're seeing are the keyframes, so just like in After Effects, and you can change the type. This is just for visual representation, it doesn't actually do anything. You can press R and switch this from extreme, keyframe, breakdown. If you know terminology of animation, you know what these are. Just to give a brief explanation, so keyframes are the main drawings in an animation, and then there are breakdowns, which breaks down the animation between keyframes, and there are in between, which they don't have. So I normally use these extremes as keyframes, and keyframes are as breakdowns, and then breakdowns are in betweens. And moving holds, I don't like do moving holds and things, so I just use them to show the end of an animation or highlight something. I use this for anticipation frames mostly, so you can do that. Okay, now to create a new frame, we have this is auto keyframe. So if we draw something in here and we move our cursor and when draw something else, we'll see these. And yeah, you're seeing this onion skin. You can enable this onion skin by going to layers and switching this on and off. And if you have this switched on and you're still not seeing anything, you have either this button off or you're in rendered mode. So you have to be in this mode, or in this mode and have this button on and also have this button on. So that's very simple, right? But you get used to it. Like if you don't click around too much, it's going to be fine. And this is onion skin. You can also choose custom colors for each layer. I think it's not for each layer. Yes, it's not for each layer. Custom colors and opacity, and you can either choose keyframes selected, and let's say we will get to that later in the video. Let's just focus on this for now. Okay, we have this and this. Let's say you want to disable this and you want to create your own frame. You can move your cursor to a point that you want to create your keyframe on. You can either have your mouse on the canvas and press I, insert a blank frame in just a single layer or just the active layer, or in all layers, or you can have your cursor on this and press this I, an inactive group or only selected channels. So if you do on all channels, it will insert keyframes in all of the layers that you have. So I just like to keep this off. Like I have this on when I'm doing keyframes, and once I start doing breakdowns and stuff, I just turn this off and I manually add keyframes in between them. So that's how I do that. Okay, now that we have this animation, let's change this up and animate something more useful. Okay, turn this on. We're going to animate keyframes. So let me just switch to this to extreme. This is just for visual representation, as I said before. Okay, let's have this guy. So we're very quickly animating this, so I'm not trying to keep it consistent. We just want to have, let's just keep it frames. Go to next frame and create a new frame. That's now looking that nice. But if we flesh this out, it will look nice. But for now, let's don't do that. And okay, and this is, I forgot to mention this. Let's say you want to move this scale, this thing, or you want to move this or scale this. You can, now you're currently in draw mode, you can switch to edit mode, and then you can select lasso or any of these two from there, and you can drag, circle it, and you can press G to move, S to scale, R to rotate. So you just press it, release it, and then you just start doing things. And when you're done, you can just press left mouse button or tap on screen with your tablet and to confirm it. Okay, and let's say you want to change the shape a bit, you can also go to sculpt mode and move these things around, and all these tools are just for different stuff. Let's say we want to smooth this out. Yeah, so you can use it. This is very intuitive, so you can just use them for yourself. Yeah, okay. And you can also switch modes by pressing Control and Tab and then just circling over these. Okay, now that we have these keyframes, we can space them out. Let's mark them all as keyframes. Actually, these are the breakdowns, so we can move them. Oh, okay. Now let's space them out. We'll just keep them on 2s. Let's delete this. Okay. Now if we play this, see, Okay, now we have this simple animation, and let's say we want to fill this head in. We can go to our colors, and let's move this down by pressing this button and fill. As you can see, the material is already painted, we don't have to switch it or anything. Okay, let's, yeah, fill this in, move forward, or you can press this, or you can press up and down. I have auto hotkey scripts that just switch my left and right button to up and down if I press the caps lock, as you can see this. So I can just use the same button to do different things. Yeah, we'll get into that later, this is a bit advanced. Yeah, so that's the filling. And you can also use multi-frame edits to fill in the same thing multiple times. So let's say let's lock these and select this multi-frame icon, and if I select all these keyframes and then I perform an action, let's say I want to fill this in, and it will take it some time and it will fill everything in. So see, and if you click on that, yeah, that's very that's not very intuitive. You definitely have to practice a bit to get used to this, but this is very useful in long run, so I recommend using that. Okay, so now let's discuss some different modes of it. I've already shown you edit mode and sculpt mode, and draw mode is obvious. Weight paint mode and vertex paint mode are for different stuff. For example, you want to rig your character with bones, you can use weight paint for that, but we're not going to get into that for now. Let's say object mode. So why do we use this? We can let's say we want to move our drawing from center of the screen to a different space. You can press G and move this around, and please make sure you don't have this enabled because it will mess your drawing up. So yeah, like that. You can scale it in, you can scale it down, you can rotate it, so it will keep the animation. Okay, now for the practical use, let's say we want to move our character from this part of the screen to this part. We can move, let's do that. Let's bring up the timeline, go to frame 1, and we have this our character in here, and if you press I and click on location, then you'll see a keyframe in here. So these are the keyframes for our grease pencil object, and these are the keyframes for our object mode. So these two are different things. Okay, now let's go to 20 and move our character to this part, and now remember to press I and location. Or you can do this other way. Let's not do this that way. Let's enable our auto this thing, and you can move this. As you see, you've already got a keyframe. Let me just drink a little water. Okay, now let's move our cursor from this to 20 and move that. See, so we have this. Now if we play this, let's disable that for now. Oh, this is too fast. And you can always select this by either clicking on it, or I like to do that and press G to move it around, or you can just click and drag on it. Okay, now if we play that, yes, I have just seen the problem that it only plays once and then it just stops playing. We can fix this by just copying these frames over and over, but that's not an ideal situation to do that. Oops, it works, but it isn't that good. So let's cancel that, and now we're getting to modifiers. Now this is the modifiers panel. Now if you click on this, and you have to be, I think you have to be in object mode to make this work properly. And now we're going to add a modifier. It's called time offset, and all these modifiers do different things and stuff, so you can get in that one by one. You can explore them, and if you have any questions you can DM me on my Instagram at snowfixart.com at snowfixart, just that. And time offset, we're going to add this time offset modifier, and now if we play that, nothing happens because we haven't set anything. Now we want to select so what this does is that it repeats a range of frames, but for now it is doing just repeating from frame 1 to frame 120. So we don't want that. We want a custom range, and we click on custom range frame 1 2, and we have this on 9 frame, so we can put in 9, or we can put it just one frame less so it looks properly. And for influence, so you can select a layer that this modify effects. So for example, you have a different object on a different layer, and then you can add a new modifier and set the influence to that layer like this. We have in rough, but that's for another time. Okay, now that we have this custom range and our we don't have to set the influence for now, and we can just play this and it will automatically keep repeating just like that. Yeah, so that's the basics of Blender. Let's discuss a motion blur thing. So we want to also, so we also have effects that we can apply on each grease pencil object, and the downgrade for this is that we cannot choose influence just like in modifiers, so that's a little bit very annoying. So that's why you want to apply a blur modifier on just the arm of the character. You cannot do that, but that's for another time. So let's say we have this character in the middle of the screen and we want to just blur it a bit. So you can drag down to select multiple values just like this. I just did that, man. What the fuck? Yeah, you can click and drag down on multiple values to change them at the same time. So let's put this, so now let's do 100. So you've changed the value but you're not seeing anything. So that's the thing, you have to be in rendered mode to see the effects of any effect that you've added. Now that's the thing. Now we can reduce it as well. Let's change it 20, so 50, 10. Yeah, so that's how you can also add these effects. For example, the shadow effect, 50. Yeah, so these are all sorts of effects that you can use. Wave effect, and you can also animate these values by pressing these dots and moving forward, and 50. So now if we and it will animate. This is not a good example, but that's how it works. So I just want to wrap this up, and in the next video hopefully we'll discuss like good use of multi-frame editing, how to use sculpting, and how to use interpolation modes, interpolation, to make your animation like a bit automatic, so you don't have to draw. So the interpolation is basically auto in between tool built into Blender. Okay, and we'll take a look at textured brushes as well. So please subscribe for that part, and if you enjoyed it, please like the video, and if you did not enjoy it, you can dislike the video, and please leave a comment that why did you not like it or how can I improve it, and follow me on Instagram and stuff. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. My name is Jan, and well, okay, now that I didn't mean to do that.